Hello and welcome back to another edition of The Oner First Thoughts. It's 10 p.m. in Los Angeles and it's still so hot. We are having a heat wave at the end of January, beginning of February. Record heat, 90 degrees all day long. We are talking about the movie Send Help by Sam Raimi. Not the heat, but it's a movie that takes place on a desert island, so there's a lot of sun and heat in this movie. Obviously, on First Thoughts, we do not get into spoiler talk. If you want to hear our spoiler thoughts and our full in-depth thoughts, watch the podcast that will be coming out in a few days, the full episode. But this is just sort of our initial thoughts, no spoilers. So this is a spoiler-free video. You're in the clear if you have not seen this yet. This film is very well reviewed. People are really, really liking this film, and I once again am finding myself on the outs with the crowds, with the critics and the crowds. This happened with Avatar: Fire and Ash, where everyone seemed to really like it, and Kramer and I didn't really like it. And this is happening, at least for me, with this movie. And I think what's actually going on here... Well, first of all, let me talk about things that I think are working. Rachel McAdams, I think, is delivering a very, very fun, really interesting, big swing performance that mostly is doing what I think she wants it to be doing. And it's a character for her that we don't get to see her do a lot, and that's a lot of fun. Dylan O'Brien is fine in this movie. He's definitely not bad enough to ruin it, but I don't know. You're not supposed to like his character, but I felt like there are just aspects of the tone of this film is all over the place. First of all, the way that this movie was marketed, at least to my eyes, with the posters and with the trailers, was that this was straight up horror. At the very least, thriller. That there was a psychological thriller aspect of this. Again, this is not a spoiler, but the plot revolves around a woman and her boss surviving a plane crash and being shipwrecked on a desert island, and he's hurt and she has to take care of him, and the power dynamic is switched, and he's been kind of rude and abusive to her in the office, and now she's in charge, and she kind of goes on a power trip that results in, basically, I think the log line of this film, what it was marketed as, what it looked like from the marketing, to me at least, was misery on an island. So misery mixed with Castaway. And that's what I was expecting. And then the tone of the film was much more rom-com-y. It seemed to me much more akin to the movie 6 Days, 7 Nights with Harrison Ford and Anne Heche than it was to Misery. And this is something that ultimately, I think what's going on here for me is I just don't think I'm that big of a Sam Raimi fan. And I think that's why I'm on the outside of this one, because I think people who really like Sam Raimi and what he does are really enjoying this film. Sam Raimi is sort of known for blending horror and comedy and thriller and action and these different styles, and he's got these visual flares that he likes to do. And I was in an audience full of people who were on the ride and who were laughing and who were really enjoying themselves. But all of the moments that I was supposed to laugh at, I just didn't think it was that funny. And I also found a lot of the tones, just plot-wise, they were just conflicting with each other in a way where I was like, I kind of wish this film would just commit more to one or the other. And we can get more into this on the full episode. But yeah, I think what I'm realizing is I don't know that I've ever really been into Sam Raimi's whole thing. I know that a lot of people really are, and that's why this movie, if you're a big Sam Raimi fan, you're probably going to love this. But this film reminded me of what I didn't like about The Running Man from Edgar Wright. I really like Edgar Wright. Now, I'm an Edgar Wright fan. I think Edgar Wright has made some fantastic films. I think Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is one of the best films of the 21st century. I know a lot of people would go with Shaun of the Dead as Edgar Wright's best film, but I think Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is more I think Shaun of the Dead is more good because of Simon Pegg and Nicholas Frost and what they bring to the project. But Scott Pilgrim versus the World is like, this is an Edgar Wright movie firing on all cylinders. But then when you're a director like that, who gets known for particular visual flares, sometimes you can be your own worst enemy when you're working on a project that doesn't require as much of that flair, or maybe any at all. But you're sort of like, well, the audience expects me to do Edgar Wright things, so they're going to be disappointed if I don't do some Edgar Wright stuff and remind them that they're watching an Edgar Wright movie. And that was a big problem for me when I was watching Running Man, because the movie didn't really seem to necessitate the Edgar Wright flares. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, it's the perfect vehicle for everything that Edgar Wright likes to do. Running Man, it just was sort of there because the audience is like, well, I want to see, or at least because in my mind, Edgar Wright and his editor assume the audience bought a ticket to see that. They want those flares that remind them of other Edgar Wright properties. And that's what's going on a lot in this movie that I don't really connect with, is Sam Raimi doing Sam Raimi things, not because the movie necessitates them, but because Sam Raimi and his editor assume that's what the people in the audience want to see. And apparently they're right. I'm wrong here. Apparently that is what the audience wants to see, and I'm wrong. But I just feel like Evil Dead makes sense. I get why you're doing that. Army of Darkness makes sense. I get why you're doing that. Spider-Man, I get why he pulls it back. I think he makes the right choice with Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 to pull. I feel like he actually held back and did what was necessary for the project. Then we get to Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and he's back to injecting Evil Dead, Sam Raimi visual flares and Sam Raimi isms into a property that doesn't really need it. And it feels like it's just there to be like, what if Sam Raimi directed a movie in the MCU and it was kind of a little bit like The Evil Dead? And that's what I see in Send Help, where I feel like all of these tones are clashing, and that's something that a lot of Sam Raimi fans and critics, I think, enjoy. But to me, it's like, a lot of what's clashing with the plot is Sam Raimi just going, well, it's a Sam Raimi movie, so we kind of need some sequences that feel like a Sam Raimi movie, right? Whether the movie actually needs those sequences or not. And in my opinion, it doesn't really. I just feel like there's a movie that doesn't have as many tonal clashes, that's cleaner and that's a smoother, more well-executed ride in my brain. But again, I am in the minority here. I'm happy to say I don't get it. I don't get why the Sam Raimi thing is as popular as it is, and that's all right. That's okay. If you get it and you love it, then this movie's gonna be for you. You're gonna get what you're hoping to get out of it, most likely. And we will get deeper into this on the podcast. Take it away, Kramer.
Thanks, Austin. Send Help. I gotta say about this movie, it was a ton of fun. This movie is very, very entertaining. I had a lot of fun from beginning to end. It was scary, it was funny, and it was dumb, all in the best ways possible. The movie doesn't take itself that seriously. Sam Raimi is really, really great at, easing tension and having a lot of tension and doing comedy while making it feel part of the story. I think it's I thought this was a really, really fun movie that kept my attention the entire time. I thought that the performances were really, really good by Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. I thought that they worked really, really well off of each other. And this is a very interesting thing about the movie. This isn't a spoiler, but it was something that I wrestled with the entire time. I didn't know who to root for. And you can decide who you root for in the movie, but even from the trailer, it was kind of like, oh, it looks like Rachel McAdams starts out good and then goes bad, and Dylan O'Brien might start out bad and then go good, but that's not really the case, at least not completely. And then I've read up ever since I've seen this movie, and that was what they were trying to do. They're trying to get you to kind of think who you should follow and what you should be, who you should be liking, and does your opinions about them change, and it's supposed to kind of go back and forth. And they did a great job with that, because the whole time I was like, man, who should I root for? And how do I feel about all this? Um, and this is a movie that does that very, very well. It's good. It might be good to know that before you go in, because most of the time it's really hard to make a movie where you don't like the protagonist, which me and Austin have talked about on this podcast before. It's very hard to make a movie where you don't like the protagonist. Both of these characters have things that you like about them, and both of them have things you don't like. So this is a movie where it pays off really, really well. Also, the fact that it's a horror movie, I think you give it a little bit more leniency, because they're playing with they're playing with your emotions on purpose. So they did a really, really good job with that. But I think it's good. It's going to be good for you to know that before you go in. Know that the lines are blurred in many, many ways. But great time. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think it's a fun time to go to the theater and see this movie. If you want to see this movie in the theater, I think it's well worth it. It did lose me at the end just a little bit. I was kind of like, oh, this is an interesting direction that they're taking. I thought it might go a different way, but I still enjoyed it. Not The ending wasn't bad. It was just kind of, I was just caught off guard a little bit, and it made me kind of reevaluate some things that I'm excited to get into with Austin to see what he thinks about it. But overall, really fun, really great. Go out and see this movie. It's a good time. You're gonna have fun, and it's worth your money. So go out and see it, and I hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think about this movie. Did you like the ending? What did you think of the characters? Comment below and let me know what you think. Let us both know what you think, and we'll start a conversation going, and we will see you on the next one.